Hey guys, it's me, Aisha from adaycreatives.com, and today I wanted to share with you a scrapbooking process video. The title of the layout is called Queen Bee, and it's pretty much a layout that I did of my mom, and I'll just walk you through the steps of how I created the layout and selected the papers. Okay, so first I started out with this picture of my mom, and I'm just looking for some background papers or pages that will blend nicely with it, and I'm using the colors in her bathing suit as inspiration for the layout, so that's why I chose the blues, and then there's a splash of green in her suit. You can't really see it that well in the image, but I chose that, and so that's why I wanted to use the green in it. And I'm going back and forth just trying to decide, do I want to use the rich bright like limey green or the one that's more yellowy. I decided with the lime colored green. I just wanted to get the page started, and so just get some background. I just wanted to get some background texture laid out, so I used my bubble wrap stamp to create some texture on the page, and I have a video also showing you how I made that stamp. And now here I am pulling in some of this tan paper because I wanted it to have, although the background is a bright color, I did want to get some of that subdued beachy feel. And so I like this color because it has the blue and it matches a lot of the shades of blue that are in her suit, her swimming suit, but it also, that background reminds me of sand, and it also kind of pulls in that tan color of her hat. And so I have that situated, and now I know I want to bring in some different pops of blue just to kind of frame the layout. And I'm working with a relatively asymmetric pattern where most of the weight of the items on the page are going to fall to the left side of the page. And so here I'm just cutting out some of that background, that pattern paper, and as you see I cut it because I cut it in half and just tucked it in, being that since it's going to get covered up, there was no sense in using the full page in the background of it. I could use that extra piece for something else. So now I want to add another layer, and I found this paper that has some butterflies on it, and I thought that would work as a really nice mat on the picture. So now I'm starting to build my layers all together. I have that nice green pop of, the nice pop of green in the background, and then the blues kind of framing the picture. Now with this is one of those cutout sheets, and I just want to get the one piece that says beautiful, and so instead of cutting it all the way across the page, I'm using my paper cutter and just trying to cut just that one card out. That way it'll still keep the rest of it in one full sheet as opposed to having just small scraps of paper. It's easier for me to store it that way than have small sheets. So as you see, I'm laying all my pieces out, but I'm not gluing, I haven't glued them down yet. I'm just really doing the layout, trying to decide where everything is to go. Now that I have my larger pieces done and pretty much figured out, now I can go on to my next layer of the embellishments. And so as you saw, I started off with the photo. That's always the inspiration for most of my layouts. I start with the photos. Then I usually select colors of pattern papers that complement those photos, and then I'll work with those larger pieces first. So the background pattern paper, then the small accent papers, then the smaller accent pieces, and I just kind of go down the line like that from largest element on the page to smallest element on the page. So now that I'm ready to put in some of the journaling tags and other elements, it's time for me to glue down some of the larger paper elements on the page. And if you notice, I'm applying the glue to the fronts of these pieces. I'm not ready to stick everything down onto the background page, so for me, by adhering the glue to the front of this piece and then tucking it behind, it allows me the ability to have all the pieces lined up the way I want them to, but I can still move them around on that background piece until I'm ready to put the whole layout down. And now I'm just using some of these journaling tags, and I'm just trying to see really where they would go, or if they go at all. And I know I want to use this piece, and I'm trying to decide if I want to have it as a journaling piece that kind of sticks in and out and try to make a pocket out of it, or do I just want to have it adhered behind. So for now, I just stuck it in there. And this little pad of journaling cards, I found it on clearance at Michael's a while ago, and I never really took the time to look at it, but it's really pretty. This craft with the gold foil writing on it, it just has like that perfect pop of brightness and brings like a nice light to the page. So I selected one of the tags, and I just kind of tucked it in there for now. Nothing is stuck down. Then I have another pack of these little, they remind me of like little Instagram photos, and this one is of a beach umbrella, and I just like that yellow in it, and I thought it would be a nice way to bring some of that, like that bright citrusy color forward. And I'm just trying to really figure out like where on the layout it goes, and I played with it a bit, but then ultimately I ended up not even using it because it just didn't work. Couldn't really find a right place for it. And as you see, I'm trying to keep everything in that same line. That the background textured stamp that I used, the bubble wrap stamp, that kind of gave me the line for everything on the layout. It gave me the line for the way I would lay all of the photos out going in that diagonal direction. And now I'm just going in and adding in some of the top elements while still trying to keep that general flow. I just added a little bit of blue ink around the edge of that journaling card to give it a little bit more dimension and allow it to set itself apart from, because all of those three elements in that corner are all in that same tan brown family. I just wanted to add something to have it pop and stand out. And now I'm using another journaling tag, and I believe that's from Basic Gray. I think that's a Basic Gray product. And as you see, I just cut it down and tucked it behind the photos to bring that tan element on to the opposite side of the photo, just to create some balance. And again, I'm trying to use this little picture of the sun umbrella. I really like it. I really want it to work, but unfortunately it just did not make the cut this time. Now I'm ready to move on to my title now that I have those elements, the larger paper elements, down. that I have the smaller paper elements down, like the journaling tags, now I can move on to my title. And I knew I wanted my title to fit in this top corner of the photo, but I'm just trying to figure out like where to position it. So I decided to allow it to kind of wrap the corner, and you'll see I'm gonna use these really small sticker letters to go with my title, but to compensate for the tiny size of the letters, the B is actually a really large chipboard element. So the title still has the weight on the page that I like it to have. And a lot of my layouts, I do like large titles, I do like large lettering. I know that the trend lately has been to have really small and almost non-existent titles, but I do really love large chipboard letters. It's just, I guess, part of my style. And to allow those letters, because they're really thin, they're just on cardstock, to make them pop and to have weight, I am lining them up on dimensional foam adhesive, and they're all touching. So what that does is it creates, instead of little individual letters, by having them lined up and all touching, now it makes it into one full element. So it gives it more visual weight. So now I'm adding the jewelry to the page, and that comes in the form of flare, buttons, brads, rhinestones, that type of a thing. And I have this little piece of flare that says "looking good," and I had that pack for forever, and I just never really used it that much. Now I'm adding some flowers, and I'm just kind of going through these nice craft flowers, trying to decide which ones to use, if at all. Instead of using the flowers, I decided just to use the leaves of the flowers and tuck those behind my main picture. Now I'm going through some of my wooden elements, and that's just to kind of add a more textural splash to the page. And as you see, I'm working in, when it comes to my embellishments, I'm working in a relative triangle pattern that runs from the top left of the picture right above the hat, down the side, and then off to the bottom right. That visual triangle makes it easy on the eye, and it makes for a good flow in the layout. So now that I have mostly all of my elements down, before adding all of the paper jewelry and the embellishments, now it's time for me to actually go ahead and apply the adhesive and lay down the top portion of the layout. And then I'll just apply all of these wooden elements with glue dots. And I try to repeat the elements in each section. So if you'll notice, the cluster of embellishments, all the top, the middle, and the bottom one, they all have a wooden circle in it. And then each of them will also have some sort of a brad or other round glossy element. And that helps to kind of repeat the flow. And every time you repeat elements and repeat patterns, it helps to create a cohesive design and a cohesive look and feel to your layouts. And that can easily be achieved even when you're using products that may not necessarily be from the same paper line. So once I'm finished with my layout, I always turn my layouts over and sign them. After turning it over, I realized that I never cut the branding strip off of the back of the page. Luckily, the way I positioned the elements on the page, it didn't interfere too much. So I'm just going back and cutting it off, but that's always something to try to remember to do. It's just cut the branding strip off before beginning your layout. And after cutting the branding strip off, then I just go around the edges with a blue ink pad, and I think that just helps to kind of finish it off and makes it look a little bit more polished. And what I do in a lot of my layouts is after cutting my branding strips off, I'll just apply a little bit of adhesive and then I'll stick it right onto the back of the layout, and that helps me to remember the brand of the paper line that I used. And that's pretty much the end of the layout. I hope you enjoyed watching my process. If you like this video, please thumbs up and subscribe, and of course visit my blog over at adaycreatives.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.